My name, as you know, is Jane Lewes. I have two connections with China, which make me very happy to be sharing this webinar with you all. The first is that I was a participant in the United Nations World Conference for Women, which was held in Beijing a long, long time ago, back in 1995. And I really enjoyed my immersion into the Chinese culture at that time. Although I live in Wales, which is a country within the United Kingdom, I am in fact an Australian, was brought up in Sydney. My second connection with China is much closer. My son teaches English in a school in southern China where he absolutely loves the life, and we very much doubt that we'll ever see him back in the United Kingdom. So I'm very happy to share my experience of goal setting with you all this morning or this evening.
Hi, Jay. Can you just leave some time for IC?
Yeah. Oh, I see. Sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, okay.
大家晚上好，我是Jane Lewes，非常高兴今天能在这里跟大家分享关于目标设定的话题。我非常高兴能够来这里，因为我跟中国其实有2个渊源。第一个呢是我大概在1995年的时候到北京参加当时的联合国举办的世界妇女大会，然后第2个渊源呢是我的儿子他在中国教英语，所以我非常高兴能够今天在这里见到大家。
Thank you, IC. So if we go to the next slide, my approach to mentoring and coaching is always very pragmatic in the sense that most of my coach mentoring relationships take place within a workplace of some kind.
我的导师辅导和教练方法呢是非常实用的，然后我的大部分导师教练实践呢都是在组织内部进行的。
This means that people are having a coach mentoring relationship with the aim of achieving a certain goal, and it's almost always connected with some aspect of their work.
所以在这个时候呢，大部分导师跟教练与学员之间的关系呢都是基于目标的，而这个目标呢是跟工作相关的。
So my workshop this morning is based on coaching and mentoring at work and the part that goal setting plays in that process.
今天呢，我们的话题呢就是讲在工作场所中的导师辅导与教练指导，然后主要的其中非常核心的一部分呢就是关于目标设定。
So by the end of our time together, we will have achieved these outcomes.
所以在今天就是讲座结束以后呢，大家能收获以下内容。
We will first of all recognize how valuable it is to have some goal setting in the early stages of the relationship.
首先我们会认识到在导师辅导初期设定目标的重要性。
We will explore how goals play an important part in the life of the relationship from the beginning to the end.
然后我们会探讨到目标在导师辅导关系中的作用。
And I'm going to share with you 2 models of goal setting that I use. SMART, which you possibly already know, and FAST, which might be a new model for you to look at.
然后我会跟大家分享2个目标模型，一个是大家已经熟知的 SMART 模型，还有一个是 FAST 模型。
And then we're going to look at the part that having goals plays when you come to evaluate the effectiveness of the process.
然后呢，是在评估导师辅导关系的有效性时，需要考虑到目标的重要性。
And finally, because I'm a pragmatist, I do hope that you will have some key actions that you can take away to help develop your own coaching and mentoring.
然后最后呢，因为我是一位实用主义者，所以最后会帮大家确定一些关键行动点，然后呢，能提升导师辅导的有效性。
Okay. Now, whether you call yourselves a coach or a mentor, there is something that absolutely unites each of these terms.
不管是你是导师还是教练呢，都有一些地方是你需要结合运用的。
And that is that coaching and or mentoring is a goal-oriented process.
导师辅导跟教练指导呢，他们都是目标导向的过程。
And on this diagram, which was developed by David Clutterbox, I can show how whether you call yourself a coach or a mentor, you are focusing on supporting your learner to achieve some goals.
这张图表呢是 David Clutterbox 先生设计的。这张图表可以帮助大家在做导师辅导和教练指导过程当中，知道你是如何支持目标设定的。
Yeah.
Hi Jane, sorry to interrupt you. Can you just move the screen because it seems the screen not yet moved. We are still on the first.
Has it? Are you on that? Are you on the key purpose?
No, we are still on the first page.
Oh no, I'm moving on.
No, maybe you reshare your screen. Stop sharing and reshare your screen.
I am screen. It says I'm screen sharing.
Okay.
New share. Hang on.
Yeah.
New share. Are you back on? Is it right now?
No, not yet.
Oh.
Maybe you save your screen on your page and then you stop it. Maybe you share the wrong screen.
Oh Lord, I've got that I am sharing the screen. Okay, I'm going to stop share and I'm going to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, now it's okay.
Okay, so everyone can see. That's okay then.
Yeah.
So I can go to this one. So I can, hang on.
Yeah, good.
There we are. Oh, good. Okay, we've fixed
Very
it.
good now.
I can't see anybody, but that doesn't matter. I hope you can see the screen, and that's really all that matters. Okay, so this model of Professor Clutterbox, I find very useful because in my experience in the workplace, we are not just a coach or just a mentor.
这个模型呢，我觉得是非常有用的，因为我觉得在工作场所中，我们不只是教练或者导师的角色。
And you can see that if you are a coach, you are still working to help your learner achieve some goals.
所以看这张图，如果你是一个教练，你的职责呢，一部分是帮助学员能够帮助学员实现他的目标，能够比如提升技能。
And those goals are more short term, and they're to do with developing skills, competencies, or improving performance at work.
而这些目标呢，一般都是短期的目标，比如帮助学员提升他的技能，提升他的能力，提升他的绩效。
Yeah, but if you are a mentor, your time frame is longer and your goals are more transformative in that they affect behaviors, beliefs, understanding, attitudes, etc.
如果你是一位导师的话，那么 这个时间范围呢就要变长一点。这个时候的目标呢，更多的是变革性质的，可能是改变一个人的行为、信仰、态度，还有观念。
So whether you call yourself a coach, a mentor, or as I do, a coach mentor, you are still involved in supporting someone to achieve their goals.
所以不管你是教练还是导师，还是比如像我一样习惯性称自己为教练导师的目标呢，目的都是帮助学员能够达成他的目标。
So if we look at, and this is another model of Professor Clutterbox, which I use all the time when I'm training people to become coach mentors at work, and it shows Professor Clutterbox model of how the coach mentoring relationship develops over time.
这个模型呢，也是 David Clutterbox 先生设计的。这个模型也是我在培训职场中的导师教练的时候运用的。这个模型呢，可以帮助大家在导师辅导当中明确自己的那个导师辅导是如何推进的。
And so in the early stage of building rapport and setting direction, one of the key things that has to happen, as well as the learning agreement and some other things that you need to establish, the learner has to identify what his or her goals are to enable the relationship to be effective.
然后在这个导师辅导的初期呢，一般是导师跟学员之间建立融洽关系以及明确方向。在这个过程当中，一般是导师跟学员会达成一定的协议，特别是要明确学员将要实现的目标。
And of course, and you've probably experienced yourselves with your own learners, sometimes goals change and you might be making progress in the relationship, but something happens which means they have to revisit their original goals.
然后在这个过程当中呢，可能学员他可能也会遇到一些变化的情况，这个时候呢，也意味着可能目标发生了改变，所以在你们的关系当中呢，也要针对这个改变呢，重新做一个思考约定。
And an example might be that you might be mentoring somebody who gets the opportunity of a new position in the organization, or the opportunity or the challenge to go and work in another place. All sorts of things happen in the workplace, which mean that you have to revisit the original goals, and that's absolutely fine.
比如说你的学员他遇到了一个新的机会，他可能去到一个新的岗位，或者说去其他地方工作，然后这个时候呢，你们就有必要重新对目标进行审视。
So let's see why goal setting is important. And I've got these 4 points that I would like to share with you.
然后现在让我们看为什么设定目标非常重要。这里我跟大家分享4点原因。
Firstly, as I showed on the previous slide of the coach mentoring process, it does give you a structured framework to enable the development of your learner, the continuing development.
首先第一个呢，就是为学员的持续发展，然后定一个结构化的框架。
Secondly, if you have a goal, you can measure progress along the way. We use the phrase milestones. You can look at points of improvement and of progress.
第二个呢，是目标呢可以帮助你衡量学员取得的进展，就是他在辅导过程当中取得的一些里程碑。
Also, if you have a goal, as I said earlier, if circumstances change, if the situation alters, then you can make changes. If you haven't got a goal, then there's no way that you can make changes. You become less focused.
然后是 可能随着情况或者环境的改变，然后学员的目标呢可能也会发生变化。
Okay, so that's why goal setting is a good idea. Now let's look at how we do it.
现在来看如何设定目标。
This is very important. We all want to help and support our learners. We want them to succeed in whatever goals they have set. And we are usually acting as their coaches or mentors because we have more experience, either life experience, work experience. And so it is very easy for us to actually create their goal or their route map instead of making certain that it is their map that they want.
然后作为导师或者教练，我们当然是想帮助学员能够取得成功，因为我们比学员拥有更多的经验，比工作上的或者生活上的，所以更容易的，对我们来说更容易的是我们帮助学员去明确他要走的路线，而不是说让他自己想他要走什么路线，我们要去帮助他，支持他。
And we need to make certain that we take time to look out for things, and this is where we use our experience to look for things that might get in the way of them working to achieve their goals.
然后第二个呢，是我们要花时间运用自己的经验，帮学员去发现他可能在实现目标的过程当中遇到的一些障碍。
And it's at this point that we don't tell them that something might be a problem or an obstacle, but we use our questioning skills to help them identify obstacles or problems that they might not have thought of.
然后这个时候我们并不是简单的去直接告诉他们可能遇到的问题或者障碍，我们要用提问的技术，然后帮助他们去明确他们可能遇到的一些问题跟障碍。
And at this point, I should perhaps share with you that in all my years of coach mentoring, I believe the ability to ask really powerful and insightful questions is the key to effective coaching and mentoring.
然后基于我自己多年的经验呢，我认为对于导师如果能够向学员提出非常强有力、非常有见解的问题呢，对高效的导师辅导是非常关键的。
So the next thing is that if we have if they have a goal, we can look out for evidence of their progress, where they have made gains on their journey.
然后是我们在能够帮助学员，他们比如说在哪一个地方、哪一点上，他们有一些收获，就取得了可能一些里程碑。
And that's really important because one of our responsibilities, in my opinion, is that the coach mentor must, as much as possible, create an environment in which their learner continues to be motivated.
这一点呢是非常重要的，因为作为导师或教练呢，我们是有责任帮助学员创造一个能够激发他动力的环境。
Because motivation sparks energy, and without energy, we don't get anywhere.
因为动力呢，它能够激发提升学员的能量。如果没有能量的话，我们就什么都做不了。
Another advantage of having goals is that we look for signposts. That is, we look for those people, individuals we know that know more about the topic than we do. We aren't expected to know all the answers at all, but we are expected to have a very, very sharp antenna to direct our learners to appropriate signposts along the way.
然后第四点呢，就是作为导师教练，我们有一个优势，就是 在实现目标的过程当中呢，我们能够就是运用自己的一些见解，帮助学员去引导学员，能够帮他找到一些指示性的路标。
And then finally, which really is a bit like the last point, it helps us identify the sources of support and assistance along the way to help your learner achieve their goal.
然后最后一点呢，是我们能够帮助学员去发现一些资源，然后从这些资源当中呢，他能获得一些支持和帮助。
Okay, so where do we begin? And this is an important point, that in order to set goals for the future, we do sometimes need to press the rewind button. We need to go back into the past of our learner.
所以目标设定从哪里开始呢？那为了设定未来的目标，我们可能需要从学员的过去开始。
I'm, as I said earlier, a very pragmatic, I have a very pragmatic approach, and I like to involve my learners in activities where they are going to have to reflect and think about a particular situation from their point of view. And in goal setting, I use this tool, which I'm happy to share with you.
因为我是一位就是注重实用的人，所以在我的导师辅导活动当中呢，我会让我们的学员去从他的角度来思考某个问题。所以这个模型呢，也是我常用的，然后跟大家分享一下。
So I ask them to create a timeline for themselves.
我会让他们为自己设定一个时间轴。
And instead of writing anything down, I ask them to use these symbols of traffic signs. Now, can people see me? Can you see me, Icy?
Yes, I can see you. We can see you.
Because I'm holding something up. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see.
Great. Because these, my friends, are produced in China.
Oh.
And it means you don't have to spend ages cutting out traffic signs. You can these are all stick on and you can buy them. And they are they're very, very powerful. And I'll explain to you how this exercise works.
Thank you.
然后这些我呢不会让学员写下来，然后相反的，我是让他们用这些就是交通的那个信号一些路标，然后来用到这个那个导师辅导的过程当中。然后这个东西就是我刚才展示的这个东西呢，大家其实也可以买到。这个工具呢是非常强大的。
So when your learner starts to create their life map, instead of saying, I had to travel to another city, they might use the bike route, or they might use a direction arrow.
比如说我的学员他在画他的一些就是路线图的时候，就我不会让他说他说我想比如说去到另一个城市的时候，我会用那个自行车那个标志以及那个方向箭头来来使用它。
If they've had a disappointment in their work, they might use the stop sign.
如果他在就是工作当中可能遇到一些比较沮丧的情形的时候，我会用那个 stop 那个标志，停止的标志。
Now, and so on and so forth. So then, when they have completed their life map, their lifeline, you can go through with them, and they are in control of how much or how little they wish to disclose and reveal to you.
然后当他想要画一个完整的路线图的时候呢，这个 会帮到他就是自己掌控他希望就是能够或多或少的然后展现多少的目标。
So it's a very, very strong indicator of the level of trust between you and your learner when they choose to reveal stuff that they might not otherwise have chosen to do so.
这个模型呢，它有助于你跟学员之间然后建立起信任关系，然后让你们就审视他，比如说他可能曾经做过的事情，他在这个一路他取得的进展。
At the moment, I'm working with a client who I'm training a group of coach mentors who support young people who have had a very, very difficult passage in life to this point.
然后我呢有个客户，然后我是就是在培训一些导师跟教练，这些导师跟教练呢，他们的学员呢也是一些年轻人，然后他们是对自己可能一些人生方向遇到了一些困惑的难题。
And it helps them to choose to be in control of their life map. How much do I want to share? How much do I want to keep to myself? And so on and so forth. And it works just as effectively, in my experience, in a normal workplace.
然后他们呢就用这个模型，然后帮助他们学员自己去选择自己的人生路线图，给他们自己决定自己就是有多少可以分享给别人，然后有多少呢就是还只有自己知道。然后基于我自己的经验呢，这个模型是非常有效的。
If anyone is interested in using this exercise with their own learner, I would be happy to send to Fisher, to IC, the instructions so that you can try it out yourself. And you're very lucky because you don't have to spend ages cutting out these signs. As I say, you can get them straight from some supplier in your own country.
Thank you.
然后如果大家就是对这个练习非常感兴趣的话，到时候我会给 Fisher 发那个说明书，大家可以自己尝试运用。然后大家也比较幸运的一点，大家可以直接就是在你们当地，就是中国这边可以直接买到这个手册。
Okay, so I really commend that exercise to you. So
thank you.
So if we don't have a goal, this is what happens.
那如果没有目标呢？它会发生什么事情呢？
You might have a lot of you might have a lot of friendly conversations. You might get on very well together, but there will be no outcomes to no tangible, sustainable outcomes.
你可能就是跟导师跟学员之间可能进行了很多比较友好的对话呀、互动啊，但是你可能很难取到一些就持续的建设性的成果。
And there will be no recognition about where the goal is meant to lead to and whether in fact your learner has achieved what they've set out to achieve.
然后你可能也不知道你走向了何处，也不知道你什么时候已经到达了你的目的地。
So this is my advice. Don't let your learner be like Christopher Columbus.
这是我的建议，就不要让你的学员像哥伦布一样。
Because he didn't know where he was going when he set out.
因为在他出发时，他不知道他要去哪里。
He didn't know where he was when he'd arrived.
就当他到一个地方的时候，他也不知道自己就身在何处。
And he didn't know where he had been when he got back.
就当他回来的时候，他也不知道自己去过哪些地方。
So that really is one of the main reasons why it is important to agree goals with your learner at the beginning rather than in the middle of your relationship.
所以这也是为什么你跟你的学员之间一定要在辅导的初期就要设定并达成一个目标。
I'm a fairly uncomplicated person. As I say, I'm pragmatic and I look for solutions. So when starting a goal-setting conversation with my learner, these are the questions that I think they need to ask.
对，因为我是一个实用主义者，所以我会追求那个解决方案。然后在我跟学员对话的初期呢，我会问他以下几个问题。
And they're all quite simple, aren't they? So where am I now?
所以这个几个问题呢也比较简单。第一个是我现在在哪里？
Where do I really want to be?
我真的想去哪里？
And how am I going to get there?
我怎么去那里？
And what steps do I need to take first?
我首先要采取什么行动？
So, my friends, you can see that with those 4 questions, how powerful and how supportive the intervention of a coach mentor can be for the learner.
所以各位，大家能看见，就是目标设定呢，对于学员呢是对于学员的辅导达成目标呢是非常有利的，对于他能够给予他很大的支持。
Because they're not asking those questions in a vacuum to themselves. They form the basis of a very important conversation in the early stages of the relationship with the coach mentor.
然后这个对话呢，它也不是说是真空式的，我们也是在辅导的初期与学员呢基于一个坦诚的对话，然后确定了目标。
Okay, so I said at the beginning that I was going to we would look at 2 models for goal setting.
那开始呢，我也跟大家提到，我们今天要了解到2个目标模型。
The one on the left, the SMART goals, I'm sure you're all familiar with. It's been around ever since, I think, Peter Drucker devised it many, many years ago.
那左边一个呢，我相信这个是大家已经非常熟悉的，是 Peter 他当年设计的时候，大家就已经知道的是那个 SMART 模型。
The second model, FAST goals, is a more recent model.
然后右边的 FAST 模型呢是相对比较新的。
And that suggests that goals should be discussed often.
然后 F 呢是说这个目标呢要经常的讨论。
And in the coach mentoring relationship, that's very important because you need to check out about progress. Is the goal still relevant, or has something happened that means that the goal must be modified or changed in some way?
然后这个经常讨论呢也是非常重要的，因为在这个过程当中呢，你讨论呢，它可以帮助你审视学员取得的进展，然后看他的目标呢是否是跟他相关的，然后可能在遇到什么情况的时候呢，这个目标可能需要修改。
And also, it enables the goal to be monitored and evaluated as you go along.
所以在这个过程当中，经常讨论的也是你评估监测学员那个取得目标进展的情况。
And you'll see how important it is in our role as coach mentors that we must look for progress. We must look for gains achieved by our learners.
所以在做导师或教练的时候呢，我们也必须要帮助学员去明确，让他意识到他所取得的进展，他取得了哪些收获。
They also, with FAST goals, they need to be ambitious. They need to stretch and challenge our learners.
然后这个目标呢，它也要有足够的雄心，它对于学员来说呢，对他来说也要有一定的挑战。
They also, as in SMART goals, they need to be specific, not vague.
然后就像 SMART 里面提到的一样，这个目标呢一定要具体明确，不能含糊。
So it's not very useful to have a goal that says, I want to become more physically fit.
就这个目标呢，就比如说像学员说我想变得更加健康，那这个呢就不够具体。
It's much more useful to say that as part of becoming more physically fit, I will be jogging 5 kilometers per day.
然后更有效的方式呢，他就是说为了让自己的身体更健康，然后呢我可能就是每一天呢具体可能少摄入一些哪些食物，或者说我准备就是减掉多少公斤的体重。
So if it's specific, it means that you can measure it.
如果是具体的话，就意味着这个目标呢是可衡量的。
And then the last point is about goals being transparent. And this, of course, refers to the relationship, transparent within the relationship between yourself and your learner.
最后一个呢是透明可见，它也是说你跟学员之间的关系呢也是透明的。
And the transparency of the goal is a very good indicator of the level of trust and rapport that exists between you and your learner.
然后目标透明可见呢，它也是可以衡量你跟学员之间的信任度以及和谐关系。
I personally like the use of FAST goals, and I'm using them just as much as I'm using SMART these days.
我自己呢是特别喜欢这个 FAST 模型的，我用它呢也跟用 SMART 最近呢用的频率呢也差不多。
You might notice in my model of SMART that against A, I put agreed. Very often you see it as achievable.
然后关于 SMART 里面的 A 呢，大家比较常见的是 achievable 可实现的，然后我这里用的呢是 agreed， 就是各方认同的意思。
That's to remind me that when I'm helping or supporting my learner to identify goals for themselves, that we have a discussion about the realistic nature of the goal. And so that reminds me that there should be a conversation on which we achieve agreement.
然后这个用 agreed 呢，它也是经常能够提醒我，就是在我要帮助学员明确他的目标的时候呢，我们一定要就是对这个目标它的现实可行程度进行讨论，然后这个呢也是要通过对话然后协商达成的。
Right. Now I talked about the importance of measuring progress and our role as coach mentors.
现在呢，我们来看就是衡量进展的重要性。
I like this graphic because it reminds me, and I'm like to be as positive as possible in my coach mentoring, that in helping, in supporting my learner to achieve their goals, I need to focus on the gains they have made, on the progress that they are making towards the achievement of their goals.
然后这个图呢，我非常喜欢这张图，因为这张图也是在我就是帮助学员实现他的目标过程的时候呢，让我去帮助学员专注他的收获，专注他取得的进展。
And not on the distance they still have to travel.
然后不是关注他与他的就是终点理想点之间的距离。
So we're looking at measuring progress, and this is where you as a coach mentor have a real role.
所以在衡量进展的时候呢，这是你作为导师和教练你要起到的作用。
And the point here is about recording progress, making a note of the progress that's been made.
然后在这个过程当中呢，你要把学员取得的进展呢记下来。
And I use this booklet, which I've devised. It's a logbook, a learner logbook, in which they note down all the decisions they've made. They monitor their own progress, and it becomes the focus of the discussion at in our coach mentoring conversations. It keeps everything together.
然后这本日志呢是叫学员日志，是我就帮助学员，然后由学员他自己把他自己做的每个决定记下来，然后由他自己监测他自己所取得的进展，然后这些呢，这个他记下来的这些内容呢，也是我跟他需要一直讨论的内容。
Okay, so here we are. Whoops, what's happened? Summing up. Oh, I'm stuck. The slide won't. Oh, here we are. So this is summing up what, in my experience, are the benefits of setting goals in our coach mentoring, remembering that it is a goal-oriented process. As in terms of the relationship, you are helping and supporting your learner to work towards the achievement of some goals that are identified early in the relationship. And that means that they give a clear sense of direction.
然后现在呢是总结就导师辅导关系当中设定目标的好处。因为首先一定要明确，这个导师辅导关系呢它是目标导向的过程。我们作为导师呢，要帮助支持学员明确并实现他的目标，所以这也意味着学员会有一个明确的方向。
They also help you to identify the points of progress, where progress is made, and of course that links back to the motivation levels of the learner.
然后呢也是帮助你去持续的跟踪学员取得的进展，这时候呢也是可以帮助学员，然后激发他的动力。
People are motivated by success.
因为人呢都是会被受到成功的激励。
And as I said before, they enable you to identify the gains. Rather than focus on what still has to be done, they focus on the gains that have been achieved.
然后在这个部分呢，你是要一直帮助学员去明确他的收获，他取得的收获，而不是关注那些他还没有完成的部分。
They open up new opportunities, things that the learner might not have considered before. You know, I hadn't thought about that. Yes, that's something I would like to aim towards, and so on and so forth.
然后呢，设定目标可以帮助学员可能看到一些新的机遇，他可能之前呢从来都没有想过的一些事情。
They lead to greater levels of influence within the organization. So for some people, that can lead to a higher level of visibility, because so many people go through their working lives not really having that sense that they are visible within the organization.
然后第五个是帮助可以给组织带来更大的影响，这样呢也能就是对于个人而言呢也能够更大的就是提升他的潜力，然后呢也能就发挥他的在组织里发挥更大的价值。
And some of the work I've been doing recently has been with women in the finance sector of business.
然后最近呢，我就是与一些就是属于是财务领域的女性一起工作。
Where in spite of their competence and their skill at work, they do not seem to be making the progress that they think they should be making.
就是虽然他们有具备了一定的能力跟技能，但他们其实好像看起来并没有说取得他们真正想要的进展。
And the senior positions for which they would be perfectly suited seem to be always given to some male colleague.
然后呢，那些比较就是特别好的，特别一些就是更高的职位，一般的都是男性担任的。
So we've been working on helping them to develop what we call their internal organizational political skills.
所以我们就是帮助他们提升就是在组织内部的政治能力。
One of which is to increase their level of influence within the organizations that they're working for.
首先一个呢是帮助他们提升他们在组织内部的影响力。
And then finally, and I hope that this brief presentation with you has shown that in terms of creating conditions in which your learners are motivated, having a goal and working towards it, measuring progress along the way leads inevitably to a higher level of motivation, which, as I said before, is that vital spark that ignites energy in the workplace.
所以为了让学员他们在组织内部有更强的动力呢，所以我们要帮助学员他设定目标，然后呢朝着这个目标努力，并持续关注他在这个实现目标过程当中取得的进展。因为这样呢，他有了动力以后呢，整个人的能量呢也有大大的提升。
That ends the presentation. I'm very happy to answer questions if anyone has any. I thought I would just finish the presentation with a photograph of the coast of West Wales, which is quite close to where I live and a long, long way from China. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry that the technology hasn't been ideal. Perhaps if I'm invited back, IC can give me a teach-in before we proceed. But if anyone has any questions, I'd be delighted to answer them.
最后呢，就是谢谢大家的聆听。这张图呢是在威尔士西部的一个海岸边。我现在就是住在威尔士的。然后现在大家有什么问题可以问？
Has anyone any questions?
大家有什么问题吗？
Hi, Jen. This is Michelle.
Hi.
A great session, good insight on the goal setting, especially the internal. Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the learner is sent to coach, mentor, or mentor,
yeah,
they or say their supervisor or their HR have a specific goal.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not that aligned.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great. Are you Michelle? Did you say?
Yes.
Yes, Michelle. That is a great question, and gets me straight onto one of my hobby horses. So, I see. Do you want to translate as we go along?
我有一个问题，就是学员他有时候的就是目标可能跟他的主管，比如说 HR， 他的目标可能存在一些不一致的时候。
One of the great challenges that we have as coach mentors is that we are often assigned clients, and the aim by the client is what I call remedial. In other words, fixing something that isn't working.
然后我们在做导师教练的时候呢，也会遇到一个挑战，就是我遇到的客户，他的目标呢可能是一些补救性质的，可能想就是立马的解决一些问题。
So, in my view, and I believe it absolutely firmly, coaching and mentoring are not remedial, they are developmental. It's a developmental process.
然后在我看来呢，作为就是我们做导师辅导或者教练指导的时候呢，这个目的呢并不是说是补救一些什么，因为这个过程呢其实是一个发展性的过程。
And I have often been, not often, but sometimes been asked to take on a coaching role within an organization. And it hasn't taken me long to realize that I'm actually I've been asked to coach the wrong person.
然后就根据我自己的经历，我有时候被派到可能在一个组织里做教练工作，然后我可能在过了很长一段时间后意识到，就是我遇到的学员他其实并不是，我们之间其实是不匹配的。
I should have been asked to coach that person's manager.
然后就我的一个客户呢，他是一位经理管理者。
Because one of the challenges in workplace coaching and mentoring is that managers misunderstand the purpose of coach mentoring.
然后我们遇到的一个挑战呢，可能是他作为管理者，他对就是导师辅导他是有误解的。
They believe it to give one of their direct reports access to a coach means that they are no longer responsible for managing the performance of that individual. It will become the responsibility of the coach mentor.
然后他们就是有一个误解，觉得就是学员他的绩效呢，可能不再是他们就是自己的目标，而是这个责任呢是由导师教练承担的。
Professor Clutterbox, whose work I have always used because of his pragmatism and his clarity, talks about in the workplace the toxic triangle. The toxic meaning poisonous, the toxic triangle.
就 David Clutterbox 先生，他也提到了一个，就是一个应该是破坏性的一个三角模型。
And the toxic triangle consists of the line manager, the learner, and the coach mentor.
然后这个三角呢是三个人，一个是那个就学员的他的直线经理，还有就是学员，然后第三个就是导师教练。
And when I'm introducing a coach mentoring program to an organization, I always try to organize a half-day workshop on expectations.
就当我在一个组织里做导师或教练的时候呢，我通常会先花半天的时候，然后先是明确这是导师辅导的期望。
And that helps to expose the misunderstanding that the line manager might have about the process.
然后在这个过程当中呢，可能就会暴露，因为那位直线经理他对这次导师辅导过程的误解。
And I ask each of them, I ask each group, the managers, the coach mentors, and the learners, what are your expectations of each other during the life of the coach mentoring?
然后我会问这三个角色，会问导师教练、学员以及直线经理，他们在这个过程当中对各自的期望是什么
And that really helps to clarify what coach mentoring is, and just as importantly, Michelle, what it isn't.
这样呢，也是有助于大家明确，就是这次导师辅导跟教练或者教练指导，他的目的意图到底是什么。
So, of course, when you are establishing and having the conversation with your learner about their goals, it is not impossible that the goal can be linked to some feedback they've had from the workplace, from their manager.
当然在跟导师在跟学员对话的时候呢，关于提到这个目标的时候呢，这个目标可能有时候也跟就是他的经理或者 HR 给予他的反馈相关。
But if that happens, it then becomes the learner's goal, not a goal that's been superimposed on the relationship by somebody who's not directly involved, although they are a stakeholder in the outcomes.
这时候呢，要明确他的目标呢，应该是学员自己的目标，而不是说可能在这个组织内部其他人强加给他的。
Does that help, Michelle?
Absolutely. Thank you. Toxic angle is wonderful. Thank you.
Does that fit with the kind of question or the situation that you experience?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well done. Any other questions?
Yeah, maybe Jen, maybe there's one more person, Serene. She just joined, and she actually was watching our broadcasting videos from the other platform, and now she's just joining.
Oh, okay, how lovely.
Serene, okay, maybe you can just ask your question. Serene?
Welcome.
Hi, Jen. Thanks a lot for the session. Just let me mute my cell phone. Sorry.
Oh, there's a lot of crackling. Yes. Okay, we're better now. Are you there? Oh, we've lost you.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And there's not so much crackle either.
Yeah. Sorry, I was using the phone. Now it's on my computer.
Are you in Shanghai?
Yes, I'm in Shanghai.
And I'm in West Wales. It is just amazing, isn't it? It's just amazing.
Yeah, first I want to send you the regards. I visited Wales. My daughter spent 2 years there in the UWC, UK. You know Wales.
Yeah. Oh,
so I know that beach. What you're showing in the computer. Yeah.
Good.
Jane, my question is that I understand completely how important the goal setting is. Yeah. And in the coaching, we say no agreement, no coaching. Yeah. But it's very, very difficult to set the right goal. My question is, because, in coaching, we cannot lead. Sometimes the coachee is confused about the target or the goal. Yeah. But I thought mentoring, I have not started the mentoring yet, but I thought the mentoring, you can give advice, you can share whatever in the goal setting part. My question is, what is the effective way to help the learner or the coachee in the goal setting part? Because their self-awareness and assessment sometimes are not the real thing, and you could not be so direct, etc., and that impacts the whole process. Thank you, Jane.
That is so important, and one of the reasons why I use the term coach mentor, because if you remember the model of Clutterbox, which I showed earlier on, you can see how Professor Clutterbox says that the skills of the coach and mentor are virtually the same. We have to have the same 5 key skills, which are building rapport and developing trust, learning to ask really insightful, powerful questions, active and deep listening, providing feedback, and promoting commitment to action. Do you want to translate that, IC, before we carry on?
Yes. 刚才的问题呢，就是因为前面提到了，就是他非常理解那个目标设定的重要性，因为在教练里呢，如果说前面可能没有的就目标达成约定的话，就没有办法做教练。但是设定正确的目标呢，其实是很难的。因为作为在这个教练主要呢，可能在这个过程当中，可能主要是引导，然后学员可能对目标呢有一些困惑，然后作为导师呢，他可能会跟学员能够分享一些建议啊，分享一些经历。那问题呢是，就是能够帮助学员就是高效设定目标的方法。然后问题呢就是答案这样的回答呢是在我们就是不管是做导师还有教练呢，你们都必须具备5项技能。这5项技能首先呢是能够跟学员建立融洽的关系，第二个是能问出强有力的问题，第三个呢是要积极聆听，第四个呢是要给予反馈，第5个是要让学员对下一步的行动做出承诺。
So those 5 key skills are deployed whether you are acting as a coach, working towards more short-term performance-oriented goals, or more long-term transformative goals which affect behaviors, attitudes, values, beliefs, and perspectives, etc. Those 5 key skills are the same. And we have to, in the goal setting, the early conversations, that's why they're at the building rapport and setting direction phases, we have to have those conversations in such a way that the learner understands that they are their goals, not ours, not superimposed by somebody else. Because if you don't own the goal, you'll have no commitment towards achieving it. You won't be motivated because you won't see the value or the outcomes of so doing. So it's really, really important that we check that when I don't actually I use it myself, but I try to correct myself, that I don't talk about setting goals. I try to talk about agreeing goals because that infers a conversation has taken place.
然后这5项技能呢，它也是在做教练的时候呢，也是用来帮助学员达成短期的目标，然后也是导师呢用来帮助学员达成长期的目标，比如能够改变他的行为、态度或者信仰。就在我们对话初期的时候呢，在与学员对话初期的时候，我们要跟他建立和谐关系，能够明晰方向，然后让学员理解这个目标呢一定是他自己的目标，而不是其他人强加给他的。因为没有目标的话，他就没有动力，也没有动力，然后也不能做出他的对行动的承诺，然后也不能发现他那个目标成果的价值。所以在这里呢，我就是不用设定目标这个词，然后我用就是跟学员协商约定目标。
Thank you, and I'm sorry, IC, I went on a bit, so you had to catch up there. I forgot you were there. Just coming back to this whole question about ensuring that the goal is valid and is the right kind of goal for them. At the beginning, this is where you might start to do the life map exercise, the lifeline exercise, because and let them reveal as much or as little of their past, and if it's in the workplace, that's how it will be. And then that conversation will develop the trust and rapport between you, and may also lead to them revealing what their genuine goal is, what they really, really want from the process. Are you right? Did you get that, IC, or did I go too quickly?
You can go quickly. 就是在确保你的那个目标它是正确的，是合适的时候，就是在那个辅导的初期，让学员做刚才那个路线图的练习，就是通过这个路线图呢，让学员能够就是对自己的过去、现在、未来都有一个清晰的认知，然后也是在这样对话过程当中呢，跟学员建立信任关系，能够建立融洽的关系，也能够让学员真正的审视、意识到他自己真正的目标，他真的到底想要什么。
An example that I've experienced was I was asked to coach someone in the workplace, and they thought their goal was to achieve an outcome. And we did the life map exercise at the beginning, and it was to help develop the relationship, develop trust, for her to get a grasp of the way I think and maybe support her in the way she needed it. But what actually emerged, we revisited the lifeline 2 or 3 times in the early stages. And in those conversations, her goal actually changed, and her goal became to develop an exit strategy from the organization, which was quite extraordinary.
然后就是在因为我经常呢被派到就是做组织里，经常到组织里去做教练，然后那时候我就是面对的学员他们的目标呢，通常就是说想要取得一些成果，然后呢我首先跟他做那个就是人生路线图的那个练习，因为在这个过程当中呢，我们的关系呢也取得了进一步的那个融洽，然后也取得了他的信任，因为我会让他明白就是我是怎么想的，我会按照他的需要然后来支持他。然后在我们对话的时候呢，我们也就是看这个路线图，可能看了大概2-3次这样，然后就在这个过程当中呢，就是学员他的目标突然发生了变化，他的目标呢就是变成了在组织内部提升某些方面的技能。
Thank you, IC. And perhaps I should add also that unless you have established absolutely rock solid trust between you, the goal setting process, the conversations to agree a goal may not emerge as genuine that without the trust.
就是说，除非你跟学员你们可能本来就有除非你跟学员之间有一个非常就是扎实巩固的信任关系，不然你们就是在那个明确目标的过程当中呢，可能他的目标可能都不是他真实的目标，所以一定要跟他建立信任关系。首先
You know yourselves, all of you, that every relationship that is worth having, professional and personal, if there is no trust, there is no relationship. And it's exactly the same in our coach mentoring.
不管是在就是个人的关系啊，还是说职场中专业的关系，就没有信任的话，任何关系都是无法建立的。
And a model of when I'm training people to become coach mentors, I use a tool, a self-assessment, which was developed by Ken Blanchard.
Ken Blanchard?
Ken Blanchard. Oh, you probably aren't old enough to remember the 1 Minute Manager, but a million years ago, he wrote a book called the 1 Minute Manager. He has now produced, quite recently, a book called Trust Works. And he calls it the A, B, C, D of trust. And I use this when training my coach mentors.
我在培训，比如说那些想要成为导师或教练的人的过程当中呢，我当时用了一个模型，这个是自我评估模型，是那个 Ken 他发明的是关于信任的一个 ABCD 模型。
And the A stands for ability.
那么 A 呢是代表能力。
The B stands for believability. Is this person sincere? Is this person honest? Can I believe what this person says?
第二个呢是关于就是相信这个人他是否有足够的真诚，是否足够的诚实。
C is connectedness. What are the strengths of this person's people skills? Connectedness with other people.
第二个是呢，就是他跟他人之间的就是联系。
And D, dependability. Does this person do what they say they're going to do?
然后 D 呢是关于就是这个人他是否做到了，就是否言出必行。
And in my experience, and possibly some of you have shared the same, one of the main reasons why coach mentoring relationships fail is that either the learner or the coach mentor doesn't do what they say they're going to do. They don't turn up for meetings or they don't follow up on agreed actions.
然后因为在导师或者教练这个过程当中呢，经常这个关系会失败呢，其中有一个原因就是学员或者导师教练他们就没有言出必行，比如说该出席该那个做辅导的时候他们没有出现，或者是他们就是没有对自己下一步要做的行动进行跟踪。
So that's a rather long-winded way of answering your question, but have you got something out of that?
对，大家今天就是刚才的分享，大家有没有就是从中学到什么？
The person who asked the question.
Yes, Jen, thanks. My name is Serene.
Serene.
Serene. I think you answered it very well, but a little bit further is that it's very difficult to have that kind of strong trust in the beginning of any relationship. And normally, my experience, a corporate wants to see the result very fast.
Yes.
They give you 3 to 4, maybe 6 sessions, which is normally once a month, 6 months, and they want to see the result. And the goal normally should be defined before the sessions when really you just met the person. So what I understand from you, you think the trust is the key thing for having the goal, right? But it's practically very difficult. What do you think about that?
And from what the model you've just described, Serene, looks to me as though your clients and indeed your learners regard coach mentoring as transactional rather than transformational, that it is something to go through, bing, bing, bang, and here are my outcomes. And it isn't that at all. It is actually, it is a relationship that is dependent the outcomes are dependent on a whole lot of factors, which we see in all effective relationships. Trust, yes. Transparency, challenge, feedback, all those kind of things have to be in place. And what you've just described to me is, as I say, more transactional, like going to the bank, putting the money in, taking the money out, getting a statement, etc., without very, very much relationship involved. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is that does that come from your client's organization, from your learner's organization, the culture of the organization, or is it what your actual client expects coaching and mentoring to be about?
I think it's more from the organization.
Yeah. That's a tricky one. I don't know whether this helps and whether you can do anything with it. I'm at the moment in the process of designing a program for a client where they have a real motive for having, they're calling it mentoring, but by the time I finish, they'll call it coach mentoring. They want to have what they call game changers in the organization. And they're setting up a system to train people to be mentors to these game changers. I see, do you want to translate that in case other people are interested? I know I'm talking to Shireen, but...
I see. I think I can help you.
Oh, good. Okay.
Maybe it will be easier for you.
Oh, that's right. Brilliant. Thanks. So...
我来翻可能比较容易一些，就是刚才在问他，就是他讲到这个设置这个目标最重要的就是建立非常好的一个互信的一个关系，但是现在我们在做特别是教练的时候，其实一般企业最多很快就要看到结果，最多也就给你半年的时间，每个月做1次6次这样，然后基本上这个教练协议跟目标呢是要在这个会议开始之前就要订立的，那个时候是基本是不可能你跟这个客户或者这个学习人员有什么机会去建立这个互信关系的。我问他对这一点是怎么想的，在我看来这是非常非常矛盾的，是没有办法建立信任就要定好这个协议的。那么他说他解读我的问题，他觉得我的这个客户或者我的这个经验更像是事务型的，而不是转变型的。就好像去取款机，我把一个卡片弄进去，我就马上要看到结果出来。所以给他的感觉就是我的客户啊各方面是这样子的，所以他就问我这是我的客户是这样的还是他的公司是这样的，然后我回答是公司是这样的，然后他说这个就是比较讨厌的，然后就讲到这里。
Oh, that's terrific. Oh, that was great. I'm sure you translated every word. So with this organization, one of the things that I am hoping that they will put in place is what I call a steering group for the program. Now, the steering group will have ownership of the outcomes. In other words, the person whose bright idea this is has to be in a way responsible for the outcomes, and it's not all going to be the responsibility of the administrator.
他说可能比较好的他建议的这个方法呢，就是这个组织里面能够成立一个执行委员会，在这个执委会里面呢，他们对这个结果都有 ownership， 就是都是负责任的。
And through this process, they are going to understand what coaching and mentoring in the workplace is, and also what it is not. And it is not just a transactional activity.
在过程中呢，这个执委会应该就能够了解什么是教练，什么不是教练，然后他应该就能够了解这个教练不是这样事务性的产出。
Yeah. I don't know whether it's helpful, and Fisher, you might have some comment here, but I have produced I use a toolkit. I've developed a toolkit, coaching and mentoring in the workplace. Obviously, it's written in English, not Welsh, Shireen. I work in Wales, but I've trained them to speak English. But I mean, it might be that Fisher and I can have a discussion about the possibility of getting the toolkit, and it's very, very practical. It talks about the 7 building blocks that have to be in place, the 5 key skills, and then it has a whole lot of lots and lots of other things. And that is the toolkit that supports my my accredited EMCC accredited program. So it's pretty comprehensive, and there might be value in Fisher and I having a discussion about getting that put into translated into Chinese, and I'd be very happy for that to happen.
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
他说他有一个工具箱一样的东西，就是他自己开发出来的，在这个教练辅导里面有很多内容，像5个重要的技能啊，7个板块啊等等，然后他可能会跟 Fisher 讨论一下，能不能把这些工具来分享给我们。
Okay.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks a lot.
I hope that gives you some things to think about, Shireen, and helping your clients understand how they can maximize the benefits of their investment in coach mentoring.